Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 134, Subform Reform, recorded on Friday, February 19th, 2021 from Zenata Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
So we have a new webinar. We did one last week. We wrapped it up. It was our CRM overview and best practices. If you missed it, we also covered some really some of the new stuff that was rolled out that was kind of cool. And we spent a little bit of time on the new Canvas builder. And Tyler spent quite a bit of time actually on the new gamification engine there, Zoho Motivator for CRM. So worth checking out if you haven't seen that as well. And then I think just for some regular events coming up, Zoho's got an administrator's virtual classroom training. This is a paid deal, but it's really not that expensive. And there's some discount coupons in here and might be worth taking a look at. Although it looks like it's at 4:30 p.m. AKST. Is that Alaska Standard Time? What is AKST?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I'm good. I'm not quite familiar with that one. And then email marketing basics is another one being put on for Zoho campaigns, and then getting paperwork e-signed in under 5 minutes is a Zoho sign walkthrough. So this looks like what's happening next week that we're able to get so far. So some good webinars. Head over to crmzen.com. So funny story there. I was talking to somebody today and yesterday, the new person that came in, I said, "So how'd you hear about us?" And he's like, I found you on YouTube. And so we're going through and I'm asking him to show me my CRM, show me his CRM so I can look at it. And I said, so just, go to crm.zoho.com, and he types in CRM and crmzen.com comes up. And I go, "Oh, you've been to crmzen.com?" He goes, "Yeah, it's a great site. You ever visit it?" And I go, "What? That's ours." So, that's kind of nice. All right, let's dive right on into the news. So we've got the marketplace roundup for January. We're still at 1,000 plus apps. I kind of went through here. Some of these are updates. I didn't see anything that really jumped out as super new. This is interesting, though. This Shopify integration for Zoho Books is not a Zoho integration. Someone else wrote it, so we might want to check that one out because the Zoho one can have issues occasionally.
Yeah, and it routes through inventory specifically, so that one's going straight to books. Maybe that could be a different method to use there.
It looks like they were having some. So this is by Web2Market, and complete order details imported into books. Shipment and payment details are included. Orders are imported hourly. Taxes are calculated and imported as well. Future releases will update product data I imagine that's supposed to be in Shopify automatically from Zoho Books.
That'd be the ringer there, because the current Zoho integration is a little particular, right? Where you got to make all your products in Shopify, then push them over to Books. So, if they're able to actually two-way sync that'd be a huge value add.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this, I'm like, pretty good. All the I guess Web2Market builds e-commerce websites using Shopify and Magento. These guys are worth checking out, man. I think we're going to have to give them a look and see what the heck's there. I mean, that'd be a pretty good one, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All righty. And then what have we got here? Zoho Recruit has added support for Arabic.
Gotcha. So another new language here for the Recruit platform.
27 new languages, including Arabic. Okay. Or 27 languages. Nice. Zoho Recruit keeps chugging along. They've made a lot of push into the entire Middle East lately. They've opened an office there. They got a lot of really interesting things going on. So that's all. We got nothing else on adding some languages to Zoho Recruit. I thought you could riff on that for about an hour, Tyler.
Oh yeah, it's surprising. I must be off my game today.
Hey, and then Zoho Assist as a multi-monitor feature, which pretty important for remote support. If you could only see one, I guess slowness. There's a slowness issue. They're going to sort that out. When it's moved to production server, so it's probably a pretty big deal if you're using Zoho Assist.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, they must be using this internally because I was on a assist session with one of the Zoho team, and I
Yeah.
realized I was passing things between my two monitors, and they were able to track it. And I realized kind of after the call, I was like, wait a second, he was jumping between my monitors. So I guess they've probably been using this internally for a little while, but that's super nice to have. I mean, more and more people just have more than one monitor. I mean, I don't know what I would do if I was just on my laptop. So that's
Yeah.
actually a really big usability thing, because again, it's like almost the norm now to have at least two.
Yeah. I mean, it's a, as Jessica says in the chat room, it's a huge update. It really kind of is. I mean, I've got 3 monitors here right now. So if you're doing assist support, I mean, I guess, you end up dragging things, right? But if it's remote support, think about that.
Mm-hmm.
If it's remote, you're stuck with whatever you got. And if something's sitting over on another monitor, I guess you can drag them on in, but pretty nice. Hey, you got some analytics updates, Tyler.
Yeah, so kind of 2 ones here. One being minor. They kind of redid the UI for permissioning users within analytics. So, you add them to the app and then you have to permission them for each of the individual workspaces. So not much functionality difference here, but just a UI update, a little more colors, kind of less gray on gray. So definitely nice to have. And then a big one here that they kind of snuck in down at the bottom is that they're now supporting 3 new objects from the CRM. First of which is subforms, which is a huge one. I've been waiting for that for a long time. Basically, a subform in the CRM is like a little table that you can build into a record. So maybe if you're in your deal or opportunity, you might create a little custom table for all of the products that you're going to sell into that opportunity. And now those can actually pull just directly into analytics. They've also added it for linking modules, which if you're using a multi-select lookup field, they actually create those behind the scenes. So you're able to pull those in. And then lastly, one that we actually just bumped into recently is pick list history tracking. They've always done that for deal stage, but now they're going to be pulling those in for custom pick list tracks.
Yeah,
so if you have like
we just talked about that, the ability to report on that.
Yeah, so if you've got like a maybe a contact status as a custom field and you want to track the history on that, now you can actually pull that over into analytics as well. So really, really, really nice. The subforms one particularly is huge. We actually do a lot of work with those because they are a really easy to work with UI, right? To kind of add line items under a specific record. So the ability to pull that into analytics is honestly pretty huge.
And you want the pick list history tracker too, because oftentimes when we're talking to clients around leads and when do you convert a lead, we tell them, look, if you really want to be able to run reports on how it's progressed through the stages, you do need to convert early and get it into a deal, because that's the only thing you can do really deep analytics reporting on. But now it seems like you could leave it in leads for a while, right? Because you'd actually be able to report, you could see where it died in your lead module now by running reports on that. So big updates there.
Yeah, that one probably could have been its own announcement. Honestly, they kind of snuck it in there at the bottom of the user permissions announcement, but that one is a pretty big functionality update.
I don't know. So have we looked recently to see if in fact you can drop a subform into a email yet? I mean, have we checked
Not yet.
that?
That's the one final thing.
Is it there? Because it's just so close,
Not quite. Though Josh actually did figure out a workaround for that where he mail merges the subform into a PDF and then takes the PDF and puts it in line in an email and sends that. So it's there, but then, you can't edit that email or anything, right? It's like a custom button that you press and it sends that email for you. So we've kind of figured out a workaround for that where it's needed, but it would still be nice to have them just in your template builder.
Yeah. All right. And rounding it up, this is kind of it's not a story for Zoho story necessarily, but it kind of is because they're jumping on this. If you don't know, LastPass is probably the best password manager that had a free version that was out there. But they've decided that in about a month from now, they're going to let you still have a free version, but you can use it on your phone or you can use it on your computer, not both. They won't sync. So you'd have to keep 2 separate things. So Zoho wanted to let everybody know that they have a free password manager as well. And you can go ahead and use theirs. So, and it is free. Their pricing on this, if you look at it, is You got a free forever version, which pretty much gives you everything you want on a personal level. And it syncs across everything. And with the new interface on the Vault interface, I have to say it's pretty good. I wish they'd kind of pump up the interface on the Chrome extension a little bit. But
yeah, that's the one limiter with this. I mean, most of the time when you're using a password manager, it's via the extension, right?
Yep.
You're not going to be like searching inside a Vault all the time. And their extension compared to LastPass, or especially compared to OnePass, I mean, to me, OnePass is the cleanest Chrome extension. Obviously, they're a little more pricey, but it's just so slick. So yeah, I think that's the last big thing. They need to take the UI update they did to Vault in just the browser version, because that's excellent, and they need to just give that fresh coat of paint to that extension.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this. We've never been able to use Zoho Vault internally. It's not that we wouldn't, but you've had this issue where you actually, you're logged into your browser. You have to be, if you're logged in, you have to be logged in as a Zanata user to your Zoho Vault account. Mm-hmm. So if you are trying to log into somebody else's CRM, which we have to do multiple times every single day, as soon as you log out of your account or use another browser and you log in, Zoho Vault's not available to you. Or you can kind of go back to your other browser and click
copy paste across,
and and keep it in one or the other. And it's just kind of been too much of an inconvenience. But that may change. So we'll actually probably be living a lot more in Zoho Vault here soon, and we'll tell you why in a minute. And then lastly, I think we've talked about this before, but both Zoho Campaigns and MarketingHub, there was an API change, and you need to re-authenticate those. So if you are using Twitter with Zoho Campaigns or Zoho MarketingHub, you got to reauthorize your Twitter account because it is broken. So I've actually never used we internally have never used campaigns for social campaigns.
Yeah, we always run them through Zoho Social generally when we end up doing those.
Yeah, everything through there. So, but interesting. If you're using that, that's a little public service announcement from your friendly friends over here at the CRM Zen Show. All right, Tyler, implementation of the week.
Yes, this is one that, we may have talked about a similar implementation kind of a long time back now. So we thought we'd circle back around to this one. Basically, this is a way to track your real last touch date inside of the CRM. Specifically, in this case, we did it for contacts. You could do it for leads or for an account or a deal, right? Whatever record you're looking at. Basically, this is a solution to one little oddity within Zoho. So there's two fields that are in, basically every record, and they're modified time and last activity date. And modified time is going to stamp itself anytime you update a field, and last activity date is going to update to the current date whenever you work on a task, a call, a meeting, a note, an email, or a field update. And that's all fine and well, but if you have any functions running in the system, if you have an integration that's maybe syncing your contacts back and forth, then you're going to have all these field updates happening to your records really regularly that aren't actually like a human touch, right? Or maybe a user is going to go in there and update the industry of a contact, but they didn't actually email them or place a call. So it's not a real touch on that record. So basically what we do is we add a little field called last touch date, and we set up an automation, one for tasks, one for calls, one for meetings, one for notes, and one for emails. So each one of those is kind of their own little workflow. And on actions to any of those real records that kind of represent an actual touch on that contact or that account, we just go ahead and stamp our last touch date with the current date. So it's kind of adding the one field that Zoho isn't quite capturing automatically, which is a real what I would call the actual last activity date. Like Zoho calls theirs last activity, but that because it includes a field update, it just becomes a little bit less useful. Versus something like this last touch, you're actually seeing when a user completed a task or placed a call, had a meeting, right? And so oftentimes what you do with this, right, is maybe you have a list of customers or a list of prospects, and you basically can create a list, right, sorted by oldest touch to newest, and people start at the top and just check in with all their customers and check in with any of these prospects. So it's a pretty quick little automation to drop in. Really the only two that need any kind of custom work are for notes and emails, where you have to kind of do those programmatically. But the rest of those can basically be quick little field update workflows that stamp your record just so that you're able to kind of keep track on an actual touch rather than something that could be a system action.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. I remember we had one client that literally wanted to timestamp every single action. If you remember that, I think we had a whole field, like whole timestamps, and I think we used every available date field you could possibly have in a record. So everything that was done, it was timestamped. They needed some really deep kind of reporting and all that stuff. But
yeah, I do more and more. We use a lot of date stamps. They're very, very useful because you can then trigger workflows off of those dates. So like when you're building workflows, maybe I wanted to say 3 days after the last touch, I want to assign a task to follow up. If I'm not going to stamp a field with that last touch, then I need a workflow for tasks, for calls, for emails, for any of those then need their own workflow. Right. And then maybe if I did a task one day and then 2 days later I did a call, on day 3, I get my reminder from the task, but I don't actually need that. Right. So I found a lot of times like what we're doing now is, for deals, almost every deal gets a timeline section and every stage just stamps a date. Right. And that helps down the line for reporting as well. And then workflows like this, it's like, rather than try to daisy chain, when you complete a task, another task comes out, if you roll all these up to a date, then you just have a workflow that says 7 days after, 1 month after last touch. Then no matter what that last touch was, it's always updating one field and you're always keying off of that one most accurate date for the next check-in.
Nice. All right, let's go to this week's read. I'm on a video kick still. Actually, it's just happened. HubSpot put out a super nice article on what video marketers should know in 2021, according to a company called Wyzowl. I had never heard of them before. Have you heard of these guys?
I have not.
They're pretty interesting. So this is the link. There's a link that's going to be in the show notes to download the full PDF report. But it looks like these guys are in UK and US, and they make videos. They make explainer videos. It looks like they do a pretty decent job of it. So anyway, Adam Hayes from Wyzowl, he basically put down a nice little article on kind of summing up their overall research report, and they've got some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's really crazy. I mean, we can use ourselves as like a real case study on this. I mean, we started our YouTube channel, I guess, beginning of 2020, basically, was when we really kicked off.
A year ago, February. Yeah, I think our first video dropped like February 1st or something.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And like for us, I mean, now we've been doing it about a year, and our YouTube channel has maybe about 700 subscribers, which is nothing crazy, right? It's not like we've got thousands and thousands of people, but it is crazy how many people mention, when they get in touch with us, that they saw us on YouTube. It really is a really high impact way to, present your message or your content out to people.
Yeah, and it just shows they don't subscribe, because we have like over 10,000 views a month, 10, 20,000 views a month that are hitting it, but 700 subscribers. So, but I think that's what we've seen with that, though. What we've seen with that growth is that, it started off, it took us 3 months, 4 months to get to 100.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then it was like, oh, now we're starting to go up 50. Then it was, you were 200 maybe a month later. And now we're adding, we were only, kind of as a joke, we know this because one of the guys internally said, hey, I can't wait till we get to 420. Ha ha ha. And so we got to 420 on December 5th. So if you extrapolate that out,
from February to December, about a year to get
300
that many.
300 new subscribers in 2.5 months, right? So you kind of look at that. That's good. That's good. So it took us 11 months to get to 420, and then, we'll probably double it here in 3 months. So anyway, video works. This is really interesting, though, as to talking about marketers that, what do they, you're looking at this growth, 86% of businesses use video as a marketing tool. Right. So that's kind of going up. And then you talk about, is video an important part of your strategy? In 2015, only 78%. That's now up to 93. Does video give you an ROI? 2015 was 33%. Now it's 87%. It's a heck of an ROI, and I can see maybe what, you really have got to live it, though. right? And,
Yes.
and I mean,
And that means every now and then, Brett and I pre-schedule out sessions to record videos and things like that. And I will tell you, during a busy week, when we get on our little 2-hour call to record those, sometimes we do not feel like it. Sometimes we are very busy, but we get on there and we record those videos every single time. If it's on the calendar, we have to get on there and record them, because it really does take just obsessiveness, right, to make sure that you're continuing to put this stuff out,
to get it done. And sometimes I see a side of you that I don't like very much. I just want to let you know that. Get a little grumpy there, brother. Oh man. All righty. Let us take it to what's new on Zanata. So we've got our blogs are still rolling right along. 5 reasons that you need Zoho. You need to switch to Zoho CRM. This is a self-serving blog, but it's a good one. It's got some really good points in here around why Zoho CRM is a good fit for most businesses. And then 5 automations you need in your CRM. Do you notice how we're doing these numbers now? 5 this, 6 this. Yeah, It turns out that's like an SEO thing, I guess, right? People like the bulleted lists. So but this is a nice one on doing some automations. So some stuff around data entry, workflows, setting some stuff up. Pretty, just some basic ones kind of that we talk about all the time that are worth taking a look at. And then over on YouTube, we posted our webinar and on Zoho CRM. If you're watching the video right now, I mean, this is that entire thing on Canvas views that we kind of went through. These really, man, I have high hopes for them. They don't scale very well right now, but they're making some workarounds around that. And you can't kind of edit internally, but they're making some workarounds around that. And they actually did a thing for partners here recently where we could kind of go through it. And I think there's potential down the road here for this. I have extremely high hopes for Canvas views. And like what I talked about earlier, that entire thing on their new gamification engine, the Motivator, that was a pretty nice piece you did on that. So I think there's a lot of good stuff in there as well. So worth taking a look at. All righty. And then, believe it or not, we found yet one more resource guide out there that Zoho had. And this one is on becoming a smarter sales rep with Zoho CRM. And it kind of goes through, and it's I don't know who they get that writes this stuff for them. But this stuff's really good, some of these. So, and these guides are just scattered to the winds. But anyway, good stuff there. Talks about everything you would want to do to basically become a smarter sales rep using Zoho CRM. All right. And that brings us to our application of the week. Oh, man. I love this one, Tyler. This is so good. So this is an application called SessionBox. It's a Chrome extension. And what it allows you to do is what we were talking about earlier. You can have multiple logins in the same Chrome browser. So rather than having to move, like, normally when we're doing dev, we're going to have, 4, I don't know. Sometimes I have Chrome open. I've got Safari open. I've got Firefox open. I've got Opera open, because you have to have different browser sessions if you want to be logged into all of these different Zoho instances and things that you're doing. This gets rid of all that. You basically can just fire off a separate session and a separate tab, and it's persistent. So if I created a separate Zoho CRM tab for a client, not only does it save that tab, you can click on it at any time and it takes you right there. You don't even have to log in because it thinks you're still there and still logged in. But if I'm in CRM and then I want to look at their books account, if you launch it from that tab, books, it's going to open another tab and it's going to be their Zoho book session, and you can kind of go through everything. I was worried it was going to be a memory hog. It's not. It syncs across. If you want to pay them a few dollars, it will sync across all your other tabs, and it's not very expensive at all. For us, it's a huge time saver, and it's going to allow us to finally use Zoho Vault, because now your extensions all stay logged into your main account, and they're persistent throughout, and they work in the other tabs as well. So, you play with it yet?
I haven't played with it quite yet. I haven't quite found the time to monkey around with it, but It is a nice one. I mean, because there are some, and if you're listening, you know who you are, the clients that I basically should be logged into their account all day, right? There's always little tweaks, little adjustments, right? And things like that, now just being able to park a tab that's just always logged in so I don't have to switch. There's a lot of those things that just save us time and effort. And this one is particularly useful for us in our specific space because we have to be logged in so many different systems. But I imagine there's a lot of people out there that this would be super helpful for as well.
Yeah. It's you're going to find it to be great because you don't have to have, and by the way, it does, having all those different browsers open does sometimes cause memory leaks and slows things down, and this doesn't do that. And just to constantly just have all, you can have everybody you're working on can be open and you're just going tab to tab to tab to tab. Super, super nice. So anyway, pretty cool extension, and I'm pretty happy about that. That's SessionBox, sessionbox.io. I don't know what the pricing was on that. I think it was relatively, we looked at it, was pretty inexpensive, wasn't it? Just for kind of a basic,
off the top of my head,
$3.99 a month if you want to go monthly. If you want to just pay for a year, it's going to be $35 for a year, and this allows you to do all the syncing back and forth. I don't know. There's some whole bunch of other crazy stuff that they're doing for additional pricing, but this base one seems to be I don't know
most of what you would need.
Yeah, I mean, a workstation. This is
so that's if you're pulling a desktop app.
Yeah, wow.
So you could actually appear to be on a different computer entirely.
Yeah. So what they're doing is just some virtualization inside of Chrome all by itself, which is
pretty slick.
And that brings us to our tip of the week, which we did last month sometime. This is creating workflows inside of Zoho campaigns. So that was good. So workflows, or what do they call them in?
You call them, oftentimes you hear them as like a drip, a journey, a sequence, all of those. Basically, someone enters a list and they get a series of 10 to 12 emails over the next month or two. Maybe we want to branch them if they click or open. It's all those types of logic-driven email automations that you can drive just directly through campaigns.
Yeah, and we kind of go through that entire process of building one of those. And so 12 minutes, these tutorials ended up longer. Last one was 20 minutes.
I think so.
It was weird that we did them all in an hour. So we're getting really good at this, brother.
2 hours.
Did this one take us 2?
Maybe an hour and a half.
Maybe an hour and a half. All right.
It's not bad. We'll get there. One day we'll be at 90% efficiency. Yeah, but this is a good one. I mean, oftentimes when you think about, setting up a journey or a sequence, it sounds harder than it is. So we actually kind of walk through putting one together. And what you'll find is that it really is just like a UI. There's no coding involved. You're kind of building a flow chart of how you want the email process to go. So if you're kind of looking at doing these and thinking about rolling them out, I think, you do a quick run through of this video and you could get a large % of the way there with building out exactly what you need.
Yes, sir. All right. And we actually have some questions from the chat room. Jessica, for Canvas View, do you think we should adapt it for all areas now, or maybe it isn't as excellent for all modules as some?
So I would say like our feedback so far on Canvas View isn't really specific to a module in particular. It's more of like a few of the, I wouldn't even call them limitations. There's one limitation and then there's a couple optimization things. So like, the big limitation with it right now is that you can't edit any of the fields when you're looking at the Canvas view. So, it's like if you're looking at a deal, right, or a contact, you could click on phone and actually change their phone number without clicking edit, right, and pulling up the whole edit page. You can just kind of edit on the fly. And with Canvas View, you can't yet do that. Now, Zoho is going to add that. That's, it's on the roadmap for the product. But for me right now, without being able to edit within the Canvas view, it makes it a little harder to use, because what's going to end up happening is you'll have to click the edit button. But the problem with that is then that goes to the default edit page and kind of strips all of the Canvas view formatting. So a field would actually be in a different place, right, on the edit page. And when that honestly is the biggest one for me. Yeah, then you're no longer in Canvas view and you go to edit. So that, I would say, like, the big pause for me with really wanting to roll them out is that limitation. There's a couple things like screen size optimization is a little bit hit and miss. If your team is on pretty consistent computers, then it'll be okay, right? Like if they're in an office and they kind of are all deployed consistently, then you won't have many issues with that. But for example, one of the ones that one of our team members, Hunter, he made on a mega wide screen, and if I pull that up on my laptop screen, it's just not quite right.
Now they have made some changes. You can go down to the
bottom.
They're
working on these things actively.
You can break, you can tell it to not, stay in its current aspect ratio. So you can break the aspect ratio, and then you can kind of hit like, command minus to shrink it up and make it fit on your screen. But I agree with you on, I think the edit's the big one. The designing of it is extremely difficult. And I will tell you though, Jessica, you will get your wish. Zoho has announced editing, by the way, in the next 30 days. And they also said they're going to drop 25 templates in. So the template thing is going to be pretty big. So they told us that this week. So that's going to be cool, because I swear they did everything in Adobe Illustrator when I was looking at these, these things. Yeah. So I want them to prove to me that they built these, because whoever their designers were, they were really, really good. And, people were kind of showing their designs on this webinar, and, none of the partners or developers had really been able to do anything that even came close to looking like what
ourselves included.
Oh yeah.
Ourselves included on that one. Yeah, it's so yeah, they know these handful of things are kind of the core drawbacks, and they have them on their hit list to run through them. Because when you're starting with a template, that's going to make it so much easier to design what you need, right?
It is.
So you kind of tweak it.
It is, and I think to answer the original question, are some modules better than other? I would say no. I would say once it's done, you're going to want to lay out your leads module perfectly, and your contacts and your accounts. And deals. You're going to want to do them all. So. And I think that's going to be it's going to be a fair bit of work, but hopefully the templates help do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something we would really want to actively promote or do for clients, because it's such a subjective thing, right? It's like
when it gets into design.
Yeah, and the design elements. You're going to need someone who's got a really good eye for that. So, all right, everybody. Well, that's a wrap. If you'd like to reach out to Tyler, myself, or anybody at the Zenata or CRM Zen, you can do so at zenata.com and crmzen.com.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes, as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. As always, you can follow us on your favorite social media platforms and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.